It's not very loud.
Okay. We're gonna do this stream. Is it gonna be? It's gonna be through here still. I'm gonna go on my phone, and then I'm gonna grab headphones so that I can actually do it if that works.
Okay. Let me see here. We're already live.
I mean, unless you want me to just project a little louder.
Yeah, just do that. Project a little louder. We're good.
Okay.
All right. What's up, everybody? So today I got a special guest with me on. I got Austin Terry from the Alchempist, and I've actually been using their product for the last 2 months now. And I met Austin about a month ago, right? I believe so, right, Austin? Been exchanging some communication back and forth via phone and text and getting to know each other well. But I really wanted to do this interview with Austin because I feel that they probably have the most, unique and evidence-based form of CBD out there in the market that that I've been able to find. I've probably used maybe 5 to 10 different products already. And have spent a lot of time, energy, money, and resources trying to vet the best possible one. So I wanted to bring him on just so we can talk about CBD. What is CBD? What's the endocannabinoid system? Why is it important to know about these things? How can this help us with health, with vitality, with energy? And yeah, so thanks for coming on, Austin. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So yeah, let's talk about for those, some people, I think, especially my audience, I think mostly everybody knows to some degree what CBD is, right? Like it's gone so mainstream and so popular now, almost on every corner store now, there's someone selling some type of hemp product or CBD product or something. But, what specifically is CBD? And let's also talk and tell us a little bit also about what is the endocannabinoid system in our body.
Yeah, so I think it's first of all very important to understand that not all CBD is made equally, and so the CBD that you're getting inside of a gas station is not gonna equate to a full spectrum product that you're growing organically and using regenerative agriculture, and there's a lot of different processes holistically to create a really quality hemp product. So I would equate it to, if you're familiar with like monocropping and you have, a cornfield that you've been just depleting the soil over and over again, that's what you're getting out of a gas station CBD or something like that.
Got it.
You're getting the hemp plant. It's making the same CBD, but the healing benefits and the actual nutrients that are in the plant itself are completely depleted.
So that's a really good point. So basically, in some of these very just mainstream or conventional hemp products, like where do they typically grow them? Do you know?
I don't know exactly where they grow them, but they're all over the place. They're just huge fields that they, continually, you know, batter and beat the soil, with, continuous, uh, sorry, with
Are
continuous.
they like in other? Are they grown with like other monocrops in those type of farms or
Yeah, I think that
lands?
they can be shifted around. Like you can, grow on a cornfield or something like that. But I think the idea is just that when you're consistently growing the same thing over and over again and not rotating crops and not, taking care of the soil, and you're spraying them with glyphosate. So like hemp itself is, it's called phytoremediation is
Okay.
the term used for basically it pulls all of the toxins out of the soil. So if you have, a bunch of different chemicals that you're spraying on these things, you have, it pulls all the things out of the soil and it goes into the actual plant itself.
The hemp does that. So the
Yeah.
hemp is like a cleaner of toxins in the land, basically.
Yes. And it can be
Interesting.
used for that specific purpose. Like you can rotate it in between your crops and you
To
can
take out some of the bad stuff in the farm.
clean the soil.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Well, that's even that's even more troubling. Why you probably uh, want to buy something that at least has like some type of certificate of authenticity where you can see is this stuff lab tested. Do you guys lab test your CBD product for glyphosate?
I we're the farm that we use is regenerative agriculture, and so we're very focused on like the health of the soil, so that we can grow the best plant. We're not. It's not going to have. I don't know if we test for it specifically, but we're not going to have anything near that.
Right. And
Yeah.
technically it shouldn't have glyphosate in it.
No.
I'd be curious to know if it really does though, because it's crazy, man. Like even I don't know if you're familiar, if you know this, but like I just came into some studies actually done by the scientists at the FDA, where even honey, like even organic raw honey is contaminated with glyphosate. It's like it's everywhere.
It's in everything for sure.
Yeah,
I heard what river was it? It's like 70 or 80% of like the glyphosate in the environment was like in a single river. I don't know if it was like the Hudson or, but I heard some stat on that a couple weeks ago.
Jesus.
Yeah,
So don't bathe there.
yeah, dude, it's ridiculous, man. The planet, has been poisoned in so many different ways, and it's tough to even just survive, in this world that we've created. Just because there's so much to look out for, and I think that it's really hard for people because there's just a lot to be aware of.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's a lot. I mean, I'm constantly learning myself and constantly evolving and adapting what I do based on new information. Like, for instance, like this honey thing. I just learned about honey being contaminated with glyphosate like less than a month ago, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, it's even in honey. Like, I would have never thought that.
mhm.
So now, like, I'm buying specific glyphosate-free honey because I just don't want the risk. Like, I just don't want
Yeah.
glyphosate. And I know I'm still getting it. Like, even organic produce. The studies that I've seen still show that it has glyphosate in it.
Yeah, it's tough to avoid, but that's where changing our systems, and the way that society works, and getting away from big pharma and big food, and these people who don't care about our health that are producing, for the masses.
Yeah.
Um, Consolidating in more local community, supporting farmers, because all these farmers who grow, monocrops are subsidized by the government,
Yeah.
and they literally have no choice. They'll go bankrupt if they don't grow these crops for them.
Right.
And so we need to, look inward, and build out from our smaller communities, so that we can really like support each other and support the
Yeah.
people who are doing the right things that are making us healthy and happy. Like we have a farm that's right around the corner. We live in Boulder, and it's like 10 minutes away, and it's freaking. We get raw milk, raw yogurt. All the animals live together. They use regenerative agriculture.
Nice.
It's a beautiful, stead for helping and providing really quality local ingredients, and we can support them through like a membership.
Right.
And then we can go. They have like a little store. You can go and buy whatever you want at any time. They co-op with some of the other farmers that are in the area, and like I think Boulder's a really good example of like what we need to do in a lot of different areas.
I agree. I mean, we do something similar down here, and I try to buy almost all of my food, uh, if not most of it, from places similar to what you're saying in Boulder here, local in Florida. White Oak Pastures is another place that I support up in Georgia.
Yeah,
Amos Miller
we just got
Farm.
a meat box from them.
Nice. Yeah, Amos Miller's Farm's another good one in Pennsylvania that we also support, and I buy raw dairy from there all the time for the kids and stuff, because I like to give the kids the raw yogurt and stuff.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
huge. Gut health is huge, and supporting that with good quality bacteria, and um, the nutrients that you get out of raw dairy is just it's incomparable.
yeah, I agree. All right,
Sorry,
so
sorry. It's like we talk about biohacking, and all of a sudden I just talk about
the
everything else. We
world
should
the
probably
world opens up.
let's
So
dial it back in.
yeah, so let's talk about the endocannabinoid system because this is a very fascinating system. Like, can you just briefly explain like what is this system? How does it work? Where is it located? Things like that.
Yeah, so the endocannabinoid system is this incredible regulatory system inside our body that is specifically designed to balance and regulate like every process that goes on inside the body, and it's our stress response system essentially. We don't know about it because they learned about it about 30 years ago, but the way that they found out about it was through THC. They found that THC actually binded with receptor sites, which are we have. I'll go into that in a second. We have CB1 and CB2 receptor sites, and the CB1 are located mostly on our brain and our nervous system, but they are scattered throughout the body. The CB2 receptor sites are located all over our organs, our skin, our bones. They're all over the place, and CB2 is more like regulatory of our immune system and our endocrine system, and like they communicate. So let's see. So it's essentially a messenger and receptor system. So when you receive a stimuli from the external or the internal environment, you have these enzymes that create endocannabinoids or messengers, and they send messengers back and forth between cells. When you have a stressor, you upregulate. Let's say you're making way more dopamine or way more norepinephrine or something of that nature. You need to downregulate in order to come back to balance.
Mm.
So what it does is it makes the endocannabinoid, sends it back across the receptor to the other cell, telling it to make more of this or less of that. It's kind of like the communicator between all of our systems. So like the immune system, nervous system, the musculoskeletal system. It tells and sends messages back and forth between all of them to kind of keep them on the same page. So it keeps
Okay.
you balanced and it keeps you in homeostasis at all times. When you experience chronic stress over a period of time, let's say months, years, decades, some people their lives, have turned into complete depleters of these endocannabinoids. So that's what happens. The cannabinoids fill the receptor sites as stressors happen and brings you back to balance. When you are depleted for chronic long periods of time, you stop being able to keep up with the needs of your endocannabinoid system to balance back out. So chronic stress is huge for depleting our endocannabinoid system of the endocannabinoids that it needs to fill the receptor sites. And once that happens, you're resulting in all the symptoms that we're aware of. Anxiety, depression, autoimmune disorders, inflammation. All these different things are a result of an imbalanced endocannabinoid system.
Got it. So I'm curious, and this is the geek in me just wanting to understand how this works. So let's just say, like you mentioned, you have a stimuli, whatever. Could be, exercise, or just could be you closed a big deal or whatever, and there's a rush of dopamine coming in. Like, what is the mechanism between CBD or just the endocannabinoid, let's say CBD, just the endocannabinoid system trying to balance out that signal of dopamine? Like, what is it? How is that working? Just curious.
It basically, it's called retrograde signaling, but if you have a neuron and a synapse between the neuron,
Right.
the neuron fires the um, endocannabinoid receptor on the opposing neuron will create cannabinoids using enzymes, and it'll send them back retrograde to the original where the stimulus came from, and it'll
Okay.
say, hey, there's this stressor, I'm producing this dopamine or this whatever this neurotransmitter is, and it tells it to downregulate or to upregulate. So it's kind of like
Mm,
it's like the pumping the brakes and pushing the gas. It's
got it.
constantly helping us shift between those things. So like your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system, your stress response systems are designed, to keep us alive. So the sympathetic is our fight or flight, and the parasympathetic is our rest and digest.
Right.
The endocannabinoid system's like main function is to help us shift between those two at
Shift.
all times.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
basically, anyone that's got, if you're suffering from any type of chronic fatigue or adrenal stress, autoimmunity, I would imagine there's probably very likely some type of imbalance in the endocannabinoid system.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's fascinating. Are there, um, so you have CB1 and CB2 that are sending these signals to the body. um okay, well, let's talk about, I'm curious because this is very fascinating, and it's a very complex process, I would imagine, as well. But like, how does taking CBD, right, as an example, how does that help balance the endocannabinoid systems, to say if someone's chronically stressed or whatnot?
Yeah, so CBD itself doesn't actually bind with our CB1 or CB2 receptors. what is cool about the hemp and cannabis plant is that it makes multiple different cannabinoids. So there's THC, which is one we're all familiar with. CBD is another. CBG, CBN, CBC are these other ones that we're kind of finding doing more
Just
studies
learning
on.
about, right? Yeah.
But there's like over 100 other ones, and all
And we
of
don't
them.
even know anything about.
No, exactly. That's the coolest part about like that what I love about this is that I'm on like the frontier of like
Yeah.
science and study, and like I don't have to be a scientist to like learn all of this stuff and to share it with others. And so these other cannabinoids like CBG and CBN, CBC, as well as THC and CBD, they all fit and work with our receptor sites, and they mimic the ones that we make inside of our body. So you have these CB1 and CB2 receptors, and then you make your own endocannabinoids, which are anandamide and AG2. Anandamide, for instance, is what they call the bliss molecule, and it mimics THC. So that's how they found out that it existed in the first place, because they were studying THC, and it
Right.
started filling the receptor sites that anandamide fills.
Okay.
So those, it's funny, like we make our own endocannabinoids, and then you have cannabis, which is cannabinoid. It's literally the same, the same root, and you have it coming from, they're called phytocannabinoids from this plant, and they're filling and balancing our receptor sites. The lost my topic, my train of thought. Had a good point. So back to what you were saying. So with CBD doesn't bind to the receptor sites, but you can think of it like if your endocannabinoid tank is full or empty, right, after your chronic stress, you need to fill it back up. And so using the other cannabinoids that actually fit the receptor sites means that you can fill the tank back up. CBD isn't going to fill the tank up, but it lets you push on the gas. So it helps you utilize and use all of the other cannabinoids from the plant way better, way more efficiently. And it also supports and some of them other ones do this as well, but CBD itself supports our endocannabinoid system to produce more of our own. So if the tank is empty and you're taking CBD, you're able to fill up your own stores of endocannabinoids without actually like using them up. So it kind of like it supports that system.
Yeah. Do you know why that is? Like, do you know why CBD does like what is it like? What CBD like? What type of effect does CBD have that it allows the other endocannabinoids to dock into the cell receptor sites?
I'm not sure the exact specific process of what that is. Like I'm still learning a lot. Like I've been learning about this for probably the last 8 months. And there's just so much to it. It's like, it's super interesting and exciting. And I'm not sure why it doesn't bind there. And that's the thing too. There's a lot of like, we don't know,
Yeah.
like some of the stuff that's going on, like the endocannabinoid system we've known about for 30 years, but it's not in a single medical textbook, because they decided that if we knew things about this, if we had treatments, if we had things that existed outside the pharmaceutical approach, from an unpatentable cannabis plant, and we could heal our symptoms and our imbalances, without their what they're selling, then we wouldn't we wouldn't need them anymore, essentially.
Right.
But yeah, there's still so much to learn. So I'm always trying to pick up.
Fascinated by it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's similar. Like I spend a lot of time learning about the microbiome, and it's like the more I learn about it, like the more I realize how little I know about it. Like it's just so vast, and there's still more stuff being uncovered every day. And for instance, today, like I was reading a study on like nitrogen and how like the microbiome with how eating protein like produces nitrogen that's fuel for your microbiome, and that you can't get from carbohydrates. And like everyone's still preaching fiber, carbohydrates, you need them for your microbiome. And it's like, well, I don't know. Yeah. There's just so much to learn. It's incredible. So
I was just going to say, just to touch on that, my wife is a holistic nutrition coach, and she's specialized in gut health. So
okay.
She's like all about it. She's been trying to fix her own with diet for the last like 3 years.
It's not easy.
It's not. But we finally got a doctor who's killer. He's so cool. And he has like a subscription program. It's like $100 a month. And then all of the, the pharmaceuticals that you want to get, you get them wholesale for whatever price that he gets them for. So he doesn't make any money off of you for the pharmaceuticals that you need, or the tests, or the things that you need to run. but he has it in a different bucket of a membership.
Right.
But anyway, like he's going to be doing a microbiome test with her and getting her to know exactly the specifics of how to get this thing fixed, because trying to fix it blindly and not seeing what's going on inside is so difficult.
It's
Like
very
I've,
hard.
I've watched her struggle, for several years. She still has the bloating going on that she's been dealing with, and
Mm.
but
You want have her call me. I've also suffered from small intestinal bacterial overgrowth for like, gosh, I mean, I was diagnosed with it 4 or 5 years ago, but I've probably had it since I was probably born or sometime at a very young age. And it's caused all types of issues. And so I've gone deep down the
yeah,
rabbit hole on.
she thought it was SIBO this whole time. She's like, it has to be this because like, I don't know what else it could be.
Has she done a SIBO test?
She got the SIBO test, yeah, like a few
And
weeks ago.
was it positive?
No.
No, interesting.
No.
Okay,
So it might
so
be
then
some it might be some other bacterial
it's got to be some other type of dysbiosis. Could be candida, could be some type of yeast or parasite or fungi or something.
Yeah, exactly. It
Yeah,
like the fact that we don't know anything about the gut is also another, the big pharma and the textbooks and whatnot. They've known about this forever. They just don't want to talk about it because if you can fix your gut, you can fix everything else. It's the core of your being.
yep.
It's where everything else stems from.
It's the
Um,
soil. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
it's
So
the soil. Okay, so let's talk about biohacking with CBD. So we understand that these endocannabinoids are basically like the homeostasis, right? The equilibrium system in your body that kind of balances pretty much everything out. And without it, there wouldn't be balance. So, how do you use CBD? And are there any other things that you do to balance your endocannabinoid system?
yeah, so balancing out the endocannabinoid system is actually a lot simpler than you think, but it's a holistic approach.
Okay.
It's basically you're supporting the health of your whole body.
Right.
So I think that the top three things to do for anyone, and it's going to be what any doctor should recommend is, first of all, you want to eat healthy, whole, organic foods. You want to remove processed foods and preservatives.
I'm gonna be writing this as you go.
um, Remove processed foods, preservatives, chemicals like glyphosate, from your diet. All of these things are disruptors to our ECS, and that's a problem. You're going to want to get exercise, obviously. Any form of movement is good. Like I was saying before, is that anandamide, the endocannabinoid inside of our body, is known as the bliss molecule, and so that runner's high that you get, that they used to tell us was endorphins, is actually the stimulation and production of anandamide in the body, that bliss molecule. So you get the runner's high, and it's not THC, but it's anandamide.
It's
And
basically the same mechanism that THC is using to regulate, is what you're saying, right?
yeah, exactly. And so you're already making it inside your body. So you want to do things that make you feel good. You want to do yoga, stretch, move, meditation, deep breath work, just even just deep breathing, just in general. If you can get a couple of those in per day, like you're helping to support your body and your endocannabinoid system. Um, you want to the feel good things are important because that's what is going to stimulate the production of these endocannabinoids, to support your body, and that bliss molecule throughout. In terms of things that you want to remove stressors, I think that's probably besides, and then yeah, let's see. So sunlight and oxygen, like breathing good quality air and getting sunlight and drinking really good quality water, that's not riddled with fluoride and other contaminants and chemicals, is also excellent. But removing the stressors from your environment and from your life are huge, because
I
every
would
time,
say I would say that's probably got to be maybe even number one. Like,
yeah,
and I would say even the stressor can be the food, right? The bad food. Like,
mhm.
basically you just remove all the bad stuff as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, and it takes being aware of all these different things that you have to look out for, and like we said, there's like 1,000 million different things that we have to keep an eye on. But it's more of a lifestyle approach where once you've put the awareness on these things and you've changed as much as you can in your life. Like you just become that. You don't have to think about it anymore. It's just something that's second nature.
Yeah.
But yeah, like removing the stressors is incredibly important because you're continually depleting your ECS of the of the cannabinoids that you need to
That you
function,
need.
to stay in balance.
That's interesting. I've had a lot of my real estate company. I've had various of some of the team come up to me individually and tell me like, I notice you're way happier now as of recently. Um, and it was interesting. And it obviously has to do with my divorce. And I recently got divorced from with my ex-wife back in December. And it's been great for me. It was like one of the best decisions ever because it was just a toxic relationship. Like it just wasn't healthy.
A constant stressor that's depleting you essentially.
Yeah. And just like anything, I try and tell a lot of my biohacking clients the same thing too. Like, you're a frog in boiling water. Like if all these stressors that you have, like you basically, they're not, most of them are not like shocking, they're just low grade chronic, and they just builds up over time. And before you know it, it's just like normal. Like you don't even notice it because you're so used to it.
Mhm.
And it just completely just blinds your perspective and just creates this fog where you can't see until, like, you don't notice it until you're actually out of it,
Mhm.
where you're like, holy shit, like
I felt like that. I didn't
yeah,
like I could feel this good over here and I had no clue that that was even possible. Like
yeah,
that's why people get stuck in their realities and stuck with the life that they don't want to live, is because the sheen, the constant repeated pathways inside the brain make you think that it's normal.
right,
It make you think that that's all that exists. It's all that you can have. You're only ever going to have this much, and that's when you like start taking care of yourself. And 3 months later, you're not even going to notice the first 3 months, but by month three, you're going to look back and see the
see the difference.
disparity
Yeah,
between the two. You're like, oh my god. And
yeah,
then when you try to go back to doing the same shit that you were doing before,
you
you're
feel
like,
it bad. Yeah,
oh, it's bad. It's so
yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah, because your baseline's reset now, so now
Mhm.
you realize what you're doing to yourself. I remember I went to a chiropractor years ago, and I suffer from back. I got scoliosis. I was born with it, and so I had all this back pain. And I always thought my back pain was caused by scoliosis, and it really wasn't. That's a whole other topic. But, anyways, I was just so used to pain. It just never occurred to me that that wasn't normal. Like I thought that's
Mhm.
just normal. And my chiropractor is like, pain is not normal, like at all. Like you should not have pain. Like if you're having pain, something is wrong. And I'm like, no one ever told me that. Like, I mean, everyone around me has back pain too, or some type of pain. So it's just normal.
Yeah, chronic illness, chronic pain, chronic disease, they're all just normalized by society now because everyone's got them, and there's a
Right.
reason why everyone is so afraid of this, virus that's been going around. And like I just got it 2 weeks ago, and
You got the coronavirus.
yeah, I took ivermectin and a
Good
bunch
for
of
you.
other vitamins, supplements, but that like recommended by that doctor that I was just telling you about.
Good for
Um,
you.
and yeah, I mean it's 2 days of tough, it was like the flu, it wasn't fun, and then it was like 5 days of like depression. Like I didn't want to get off the couch, dude. I was like I had all this momentum built up before I got it, and then I was just stuck. I didn't want to do
Yeah.
anything. But other than that, like my body fought it off. I feel great. I
And
now
now
have
you're 13. Now
natural
you're now
immunity.
you're now you're 13 times more.
Yeah, how do they even measure that, dude? It's got to be even more. It's like the
Yeah.
support the body. Don't try and attack a symptom. You got to attack the root cause. It's it's supporting all of your endocannabinoid system, your health, your wellness, your happiness. All of these things are integral to overall health and immune health, and it's way
Yeah.
more powerful when you can support those things than when we
100%.
try and take a single pharmaceutical to replace or to fix a problem. All it is a
Right.
band-aid, and a band-aid on the outside is great because it'll help it heal up there, but you're not seeing what's going on all inside your body.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you don't even know what downstream effects that will have, 2, 3 years down the road.
No one has any clue.
Yeah. So with the endocannabinoid system, like what do you, besides these main three things, I'm gonna post this here in the chat. And guys, if anyone here is listening and you guys have specific questions for myself or Austin, feel free to ask them. Um, um, how are you using, your product at Alchempist and the CBD stuff? Like we were talking about this the other day, but I typically, for the most part, I would say 90% of my approach to it is I use it um, after work,
Mhm.
because like I get so much momentum like around like 4 or 5 o'clock, like I'm just like, you got so much dopamine and that's, you still like, you're still in that hunt mode, like trying
Mhm.
to kill your prey. And it's like, all right, like I know I need to start having dinner soon, because if I don't like flex out of this state, I'm gonna keep going, and then all of a sudden I'm not gonna have dinner till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, which I know is not good for me and optimal, so I don't want to do that. So I'll start, you're around 4 or 5 o'clock. I'll start taking the CBD product, because I know it also takes time for it to absorb and to start using. And I'll stack it. I have a little like THC syringe that I'll get from one of like the what do you call it? The like the dispensaries here,
Mhm.
and I'll just do a tiny little dot. Probably another 1 to 1.5 milligrams, maybe two at the very most of it. It's hard to control the dosage because it's not like you're squeezing a little syringe out.
Yeah.
And I'll just take that as well with the CBD, and within an hour, I feel amazing. I feel really, really good. And unlike alcohol, alcohol can have this calming effect. I'm very skeptical about using alcohol just because it really affects the immune system in a negative way.
Mhm.
And people who have gut issues, or suffer from any autoimmune conditions or anything like that, like when you're using alcohol, I feel like it's just way more downside than upside for it. I mean, I can, and I think there's way healthier ways to get the polyphenols from like red wine than actually drinking the red wine. Um, so yeah, I have issues with alcohol, and I think most of the studies done on alcohol, I don't know if you're aware of any where they've actually done like intervention studies with consuming red wine. Most of them are just epidemiological, and they're just saying, well, most of these populations that consume red wine tend to live longer. I'm like, well, that's like,
It's like
there's so many factors, like,
correlation and causation, man.
yeah, like you just can't assume it's red wine, right? So I don't really buy into the alcohol thing. And I notice whenever I drink it, I feel bad the next day. Like I feel tired, I feel weak, I feel groggy. I don't my mind isn't as sharp. So I just don't like alcohol. I don't get that with the THC. As long as I'm not taking too much. If I overdose on THC and it's too much, I will feel slower the next day. But as long as it's the right micro dose for myself, I feel great. I notice my stress levels goes down, happiness goes up, and I get amazing sleep. I wake up the next day and I feel relaxed and I feel good, you know?
Yeah, down regulating after a long workday, which most people have from 9 to 5 typically. It's uh, a very fast way to get to where you want to get to, like to come back down. Because when you're basically in fight or flight stress mode, all day you're like, I gotta survive, I gotta do this, I gotta
You're
clean.
hunting, yeah.
Your mind is constantly running, 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 and that's the problem most people deal with. It's like they try to go to sleep and their mind just never stops.
Right.
And so yeah, taking a CBD tincture, under the tongue, you can take the gun like I'll show you the products in a little while, but you can take
Yeah.
gummies like
Oh,
edibles.
I'd love to see them. I'd love to see all the other products you guys have.
Um, you can take it in any which way, but you're ultimately supporting your endocannabinoid system, which is depleted from the stress from the day, refilling that tank and allowing yourself to shift back from your sympathetic state into a parasympathetic state, which is where all healing occurs. It's where your sleep and rest and digest and all the to eat food, like your mood regulation, like everything that is a part of your autonomic nervous system of
Yeah.
like it just functions on its own is regulated by the endocannabinoid
Buy
system.
that.
So
Right.
it's
So it's
so
even a good
important.
idea to have it before dinner, as well. So you can be like, you're more relaxed to be able to absorb and digest the food.
You're ready to digest the food.
Yeah.
It puts your body in a state where you're more relaxed. You're more present with your kids. You're starting to it's just down regulating your nervous system so that you're getting ready for sleep. That's
Yeah.
what your body does on its own.
Right.
But when we're chronically stressed and we're chronically in this go 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 mentality, our body isn't as good at doing that because it doesn't
Yeah.
have the stores that it needs. So yeah, that's why supplementing with a full spectrum tincture is super important because
Yeah.
it's kind of like that on ramp, to your relaxation.
Right. What do you think the downsides are to CBD and THC? I think a lot of people are still um, there's still a lot of social indoctrination that cannabis is not good for you and things like that. I've noticed for myself. I don't think I've ever noticed going too overboard on CBD specifically. But CBD is expensive, so I don't want to typically go overboard. I like to do somewhere between like a 30 to 50 milligram dosage, because that's kind of at least the minimal dosings I've seen, like in studies that where they've seen like positive benefits for it. Um, but yeah, are there any downsides to it?
I think that every body is completely unique and different, and I think that certain people could respond, in a way that's not super positive. I think that
Favorable.
THC is probably the only one that you need to like
Be
regulate
careful.
because
Yeah.
you can take 3,000 milligrams of CBD and be fine, and you could
Right.
also take 3,000 milligrams of THC and be fine. You're just gonna have to deal with the consequences of like just being super high, and
Yeah.
like
You won't be
incapacitated.
you will be incapacitated, yeah, and you're probably
Yeah,
going to have lingering effects of it for a few days. Like I would think that would probably, wouldn't taking too much of it like unbalance your endocannabinoid system as well to some degree?
yeah, I think overstimulation of any kind is not necessarily the best thing. Like you're taking it, and the way you take it matters too. Like if you take an edible, you're going to um, you metabolize and actually increase the efficacy of the THC in your body, like 100-fold. Like it's a lot more
Really?
than like smoking a
Yeah.
bowl or taking it in a tincture. And like in a tincture like this, it's only 0.3% THC. In a joint, you're getting anywhere from 10% to 35% of these
Yeah,
strains
way
that they're
more.
creating these days. Like
Right.
the
Plus
TH,
you're getting all the stuff, like all the bad stuff from smoking that's not just not good for your lungs and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. The THC itself is that's the molecule that is causing people their anxiety, their inability to focus. The psychotropic effects are all happening on your CB1 receptors that are in your brain and your nervous system, and it's overloading that if you're taking too much.
If you're taking too
But
much,
a
yeah.
microdose of it is good. It
It's probably
stimulates.
very beneficial, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's like it's not something to be demonized because I think that everyone wants to polarize and say, oh, this is bad and this is good, and it's not that way. It's like no, it's the doses that
It's
you
the
take, the
dosage.
way that you take it, and it's in a tincture like this with a very small microdose of THC. The THC is there to help all of the other components work properly in the body, and
Mhm.
that's the entourage effect. All components of the cannabis plant are important. And when you remove one, like THC, you reduce the efficacy of the plant in the body itself, and all of the things don't work as well. So it's kind of like you're taking out, a piece of the system that is required
It's
with
all
all
part of it.
the
Yeah, it's all
yeah.
part of the system.
Mm-hmm.
What about like, so are you familiar with like some of the phytonutrients inside of the THC or in the hemp oil specifically, as far as like the terpenes and I don't know if I think there's another one
Yeah, there's
too that.
like flavonoids and terpenes, and there's all these different components. It's actually it's pretty complex, but it is interesting. The terpenes are in most, in a lot of different
Plant foods or.
plant foods. Yeah. So like, what is it? I think of these things off the top of my head.
And are these some of the things that are
All these,
regulating like the endocannabinoid system
yeah,
naturally?
yeah, these things are also supporting. So like, you can find them in like pepper or it's pinene is what it's called. And you'd find it in like pine trees or whatever. But it's like
Okay.
it's the terpene is the component that makes it smell. It's that
Mm.
when you
Gives it that
smell
nice
different strains
cannabis,
of
that
weed,
cannabis smell. Yeah.
yeah. So when you smell different strains of cannabis, you are smelling the different terpene profiles that are inside of there. And
Mm.
those terpene profiles work together with the cannabinoids to support your system as well. And we're learning more and more about them. It's something that I need to do more research into myself.
Yeah.
There's so many pieces to this. So I'm like,
Yeah. It's
so
a
much,
lot.
but they
It,
are important, and you can change your I was just listening to a podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with Kyle Kingsbury.
No.
He's really cool. He's a previous, I think, ex MMA fighter. And he's had a lot of basically these big psychedelic awakenings and whatnot.
Okay.
And he talks about all the things biohacking, and he's really cool. You'll like him. I'll send you, I'll text you his podcast. Anyway, he had this guy on who is doing genetics testing for the different cannabinoids inside the body and how they interact. Your body specifically through your genes and DNA
interacts with them.
with specific strains of cannabis, and
I think that guy was on Bulletproof Radio, if I'm not mistaken, as well, because I think it's like an older gentleman, a doctor, PhD type guy. Do you know?
I think so. I forget the. Actually,
I think I saw him on Bulletproof Radio, and he was talking about like how there is a subset of a population that just cannot do any type of THC whatsoever, though very rare. It was a very small percentage. And then some people needed like more sativa versus some needed more indica. I'm more of the indica guy. I noticed that sativa, I'm already naturally creative. Like that's just my natural state. My mind is rolling with ideas when I'm flowing, like, and I have my bulletproof coffee in the morning or whatever. Like there's just a lot happening like inside, which I enjoy. I love that process. But like sativa doesn't calm that down for me. It just makes it more so pronounced. Whereas I find indica has a very just calming effect for me and just really like helps me feel like more rested and more relaxed, whereas I don't get that same feeling from sativa.
Yeah, and some people have the opposite effect, and indicas will be like a cup of coffee for them.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so it's really cool because there are hundreds, if not thousands of different strains of cannabis and hemp, and the way that they work are somewhat unknown to us. But if we can get to the root of understanding our DNA and our genetics and how they work, and what is the right, if they can give you a strain, it's like, hey, this is going to help you with
just
this,
for you,
but just for you, and then this person's going to use the same strains for these different things. Like we can get really, with specialized, personalized medicine,
precision,
really deep and precise about what works.
That's fascinating. I mean, that's a whole other rabbit hole just to go down in.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That guy's name is Len May, and he's the founder of Endocanna.
Len May.
Lenmay and Endocanna.
Got it.
So yeah, check that out. I honestly, when I have the income, I want to do that.
To do the genetic test.
Yeah.
What does it cost?
I don't know. I think it's probably like a couple $100. Just
that's not too bad.
No, not too bad, but frivolity, you got other things to focus on right now.
Yeah, there's always things to run. That's interesting. Yeah, I definitely like to do that test myself as well. So he when they do the test, the genetic test, they are giving you different strains for different things as well.
Yeah, they're basically saying which different cannabinoids you are deficient in, what you can use more of, what different strains are affecting you, like you have an affinity for, or that you have, your body doesn't kind of rejects.
Interesting.
So it gives you the whole detailed explanation, from what I understand, of all the different ways that these different cannabis
affect you. I'm wondering too, like maybe you can okay, well, this is going to help you think better or think more clarity. Like you want this strain, this is going to help you just relax and unwind, and you want this strain, and then you have like your home endocannabinoid biohacking cocktail for different things to get you in the state that you're looking to be in.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like personalized medicine, like I think that's where we want to go eventually. Like this is, we're starting here. It's like, we're a CBD company, okay, but like deeper into this in a couple of years from now, when we have the scientific background and the studies and the proper people, like we're working with a biochemist right now, and our CEO is writing articles. He did some on addiction for like the last month. We'll get more into that later, like in terms of what he's going to eventually do with that. But you get these people who have been studying this stuff for years, decades, whatever, and they haven't had a platform to bring it out on. It's like
to express themselves. Yeah,
we can get any strain, any profile of cannabinoids we want, put it together and personalize it for someone who needs it specifically for anxiety, or specifically for these things we're not allowed to talk about, these symptoms. that it does, doesn't work for.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like you have to walk this line because of the big pharma and censorship and all the different things. It's a tough.
Yeah. They'll basically close you down or prevent you from selling your product if
Yeah,
you say too many things.
dude, I can't. We can't do anything that a normal business would do to get their product out to people. We
You're
can't
limited.
do any
Yeah.
of those things.
Yeah.
So that's why the growth is so slow. It has to be more organic. It has to be through people like you and your people who follow and trust what you're saying, so that we can build and garner that trust with our community. And that's why I said I want to get in front of more people, in conversations like this in person too, so that I can share with them hey,
hey,
there's so
this
much
stuff can help you
information.
with depression. It can help anxiety. It can help with cancer. It can help with this, but you can't say that, as the
Exactly.
seller of your product, or you go to jail. you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it sucks. Um, um, yeah, I think we've covered a lot. So I'm curious, like with regards to your CBD tincture, the ones that you guys sell, what strain is that from? Is that is that an indica or a sativa strain? Do you know?
Well, it's industrial hemp, so
Okay,
I don't think that hemp has different strains, but I don't think any ones that we're familiar with.
got it.
Cannabis is going to be the ones with all the different, the different. I mean, I we think we are making different strains of hemp, but it's not. I don't think it's blueberry, lemon, whatever. I don't think it comes like that. So it's
Yeah.
more, and it's under.
What's the difference between? I don't even know this. What's the difference between cannabis and hemp?
So you can consider them as like cousins. They both
Okay.
come from the cannabis sativa genus,
Okay.
but they are two different plants with different properties. Cannabis is going to have anything over 0.3% THC is determined cannabis, but they have different size leaves. They're producing different cannabinoid profiles, different terpenes, different things like that. Hemp itself is going to be higher in CBD. So I would say they're like two sides of a coin. One's got a lot of THC and is specifically grown for that, and then hemp is grown more for it's grown for the CBD that it produces,
Right.
but it produces THC just for a
And
small amount.
I'm assuming that because the cannabis, the THC product is still illegal or whatnot, or has restrictions, you're not able to sell that, correct?
Yeah, so but industrial hemp is specifically it's industrial. So they grow industrial hemp for textiles and rope and house construction materials
All
and
types of things. Yeah.
all there's 1,000 different uses for it. It's incredible. But because it's under the 0.3%,
It flies. It's fine.
states after the Farm Bill in 2018, it's legal.
Right. It's legal.
So yeah, so our products specifically have THC, but they have under the legal limit. It's like 0.23% or something like that.
So would you say that it's more powerful or more beneficial? I guess. I mean, I guess it's hard to make a statement that would include all people. But as a general rule of thumb, would you say that it's probably more powerful to combine the two? If you
To
have
blend.
access, yeah, like if you have access to get the cannabis plant and the hemp and get both benefits from it and find a dosage that's optimal for you.
Yeah, I think that you can play with it as much as you want and see what works for you. I think that THC is one of those less is more
Yeah.
type of things. CBD, I feel like you can have as much as you want of that. You can have 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams, just depending on what
Yeah, a lot of the studies have 100 plus milligrams in them.
Yeah.
It's too expensive for me to just take that much,
It doesn't hurt. It's not psychoactive, so it's not anything to worry about, and your body could use the support, especially if you're under chronic stress, like every, American is.
Everything, yeah.
Um,
So, and this the CBD. So the CBD. I don't know if you know the answer to this question, but say you get an adaptogen like ashwagandha, right? And then you're taking CBD, as a stress mediator. Do they have similar mechanisms, or do they work totally different? Do you have any idea?
I'm unfamiliar with I'm familiar with adaptogens and kind of their play, but I don't know the specifics about it, so I don't want to make any claims. I'm not sure, but I can only imagine that there is synergy between the other adaptogens and mushrooms and
I
the
I
plants all
stack the
working together
CBD.
inside the
I stack
body.
the CBD and the ashwagandha together with for myself. And I also have there's this supplement from Scientific Quicksilver where they have this. It's a phosphatidylcholine liposomal form that has L-theanine and GABA in it.
Mhm.
And so I'll make a chai tea at night, and
Matcha,
I'll
yeah.
yeah, I'll put that, the CBD, the ashwagandha, and the magnesium, and that thing makes you feel like $1,000,000.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. It's like once you start getting like biohacking itself is like it's all the specifics about like what you can do and combine, and they're all I think all plants and fungi are working together. You know,
Yeah.
that's the what they do in the soil. Like, have you seen Fantastic Fungi yet?
No.
Oh, dude, go on Netflix and watch Fantastic Fungi. Fungi. It's a basically it's a whole thing about mushrooms and all the different uses for them. But it talks about like there's a mycorrhizal network beneath the soil that connects all of the plants. It's made by mycelium from mushrooms.
Interesting.
And so like when you see a fruiting body of a mushroom on the grass, that's a small fruit from the great tree of mushroom mycelium that are all connected beneath the soil. And what they do is they act like an internet for the plants. So they help the plants communicate with one another. So if there's a certain species of insect attacking this one plant here, this other plant over here gets the message through the network, the fungal network, sends back nutrients and anti-nutrients to help defend the
The
plant
plant.
not getting
That
eaten.
is fascinating.
And yeah, and then the insects stop eating the plant. They're all working together as a community, and it's like sending little Amazon packages to each other through the network.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's why it's interesting. Like, a lot of people who get like, candida overgrowth, right? Or some type of yeast or fungi, like, the more I read about the microbiome, the more I understand that it's like, okay, well, if you have these things, it's not necessarily a bad thing. They're there for a reason and they're like doing something. So, like you just mentioned about this network, like if you have a little bit of overgrowth of fungi, there's probably something going on that you have that reason, and it's probably not a good idea to go ahead and attack that fungi that are actually serving a really a purpose in your microbiome. Perhaps what you need to look at is to figure out how to grow some other things in that soil that are needed or lacking, so you can offset the effects of what these things are causing.
Crowd it out,
Yeah,
essentially. Yeah,
yeah,
it's using that's the thing. Attack. Why are we attacking things?
right,
Like, we need to support is really
right.
what we need to do. It's important. It's a holistic approach, and like all of the things that you're doing are affecting your gut microbiome or your endocannabinoid system, and any little
Any
direction.
little thing will mess you up, dude.
Yeah,
So I'll tell you an interesting story. Like, so I was diagnosed. Finally, I was clinically diagnosed with SIBO. I know I had it way before, but I was clinically diagnosed with SIBO, I think 2017 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Did a lot. I would say it took me about a good 2 years for it to go away. Finally went away, symptom free, feeling amazing, great. Another 2 years later, I started noticing things start creeping back in again. And then I had a really, really stressful moment in my life. And boom, like it just came back full force, like it had never gone away. Nothing worked. So I basically went on on all meat diet, just pure
Yeah,
carnivore.
carnivore. That's kind of
Yeah.
what we've been doing the last few weeks.
Yeah, just carnivore. I'm a huge fan of it. I recommend it to a lot of people. My girlfriend Amy also has got autoimmune conditions, and when we first started dating, I'm like, look, I don't know about your specific autoimmune condition, but I know about autoimmune in general. And there's different things you can do, but I'm like, I think this is the most extreme, but also probably the most effective. Like, just stop eating plants.
Mm-hmm.
And she thought I was nuts, but she's like, you know what? Let me try it. Like, I've done all this other shit and nothing's worked.
Mm-hmm.
She did it. And dude, her autoimmune symptoms haven't completely gone away. I don't want to say it's completely gone, but man, it's like 80 to 90% gone. And she's off medication for the first time in her life. I mean, this stuff is incredible how it works. But anyways, the point that I'm trying to make is, so I use carnivore to heal. Then I started incorporating certain plants back into the diet, plants that I can tolerate, arugula, radishes, sauerkraut, and then just mostly fruit. I noticed just like starch in general tend to not do well with me. and I was doing great. I was like a year in, like no symptoms. I'm good, feeling great. And I was curious. I'm like, let me take, like, if I had anything outside of that, like let's say asparagus or onions or anything like that, like highly fermentable stuff, I would get diarrhea and I wouldn't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure the SIBO's still there, you know. But this diet helps me feel great, and there's no SIBO symptoms when I'm on it. So I got a SIBO test, and sure enough, it tested positive again. So, you know, I had done all the protocols that the SIBO, you know, practitioners recommend. And then, so, you know, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go the pharmaceutical route and try the actual pharmaceuticals. I've done all the natural, you know, all the natural, antibiotics, you know, the berberine and the allicin and all that other stuff. And that wasn't working either. So I went the pharmaceutical route. And I remember when the pharmaceuticals arrived, I'm like staring at them for like a long time. And my girlfriend's looking at me. She's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, I'm just really scared to take them. And she's like, why? And I'm like, I don't want to wage a war inside my gut. And this is what I'm doing. I'm going to be waging war. So I told my whole company, I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to be doing some treatment for the next several weeks. If I'm moody, cranky, irritable, like, this is why. So I'm giving you guys a heads up. So be patient with me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, dude, I took those antibiotics and it was a fucking shitstorm. Like, I mean, joint pain, fucking like everywhere, all over my knees and my fingers, acid reflux again, belching, vomiting, urinary tract. I mean, like all these things, and I'm just like, dude, like I should have not tried to attack anything. I just should have just kept supporting the soil and just keep enriching the soil versus trying to do this attack approach that, you know, it's just so prevalent in just like the
We just
Western
want
ideology, you know.
we want things to be fixed right now, and that's why a pill is like, oh, take this pill, it's magic, it'll fix it right now. It's like
Yeah.
it'll fix it right now for right now, you know.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, a week later, whatever it is, you're dealing with all the consequences.
Yeah, I'm still dealing with it. It's been maybe about a month, or three, maybe, yeah, about a month since I've gone off the antibiotics or whatever. And yeah, I'm still recovering. Like I'm pretty much just eating meat and stock right now, and just, yeah, very little plants. The only thing I still have occasionally is coffee, just because I really like my cup
I
of
love that.
coffee. Yeah, it makes me happy, makes my brain work. So it's like, man, like I'll eliminate all the other shit, but at least let me have my coffee, you know.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that you're doing all this. We're both in the same boat because my wife, she tried every diet, and we've been following Paul Saladino for however long.
I love Paul.
And she worked with his assistant actually like a year ago. But essentially, we hadn't tried carnivore, so we did. We started like probably 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and that's when we got like the white oak pastures, and like we're just like trying to get all the best meat we possibly can. And then we
Yeah.
started this farm with the raw dairy, and it's like carnivore is cool because I mean animal products are really good if you use the right ones. Like if you're getting
Yeah.
raw milk from a great farm, raw cheese, yogurt, you know, you're supporting all of your gut bacteria in a way that's, you know, very helpful and
Yep.
healthy. And you're also red meat and organ meats are the most nutrient dense, per gram of protein that you like, micronutrient dense that you can get anywhere.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
did a
that's how we
Facebook
evolved.
Live yesterday. Yeah, I did a Facebook Live yesterday because I had a friend that was like preaching drinking like a vegan protein powder. And I'm
Mm.
like, dude, like you can, I mean, if you want to drink that, that's fine. But like, why would you want to drink that if you have the option of this? Like, these are fallback
Bioavailability.
foods. Yeah, these are fallback foods that like our ancestors were having when they couldn't find meat. Like, and if you can find meat today, like, why would you want that? It's an inferior protein. It's got all these anti-nutrients, you know, they're chemically produced with hexane and all this other stuff. Like, I'm like, get it out of your diet.
Full of
Like,
glyphosate and whatever other chemicals they're spraying on them,
yeah,
like
it's not
highly
worth it.
processed. Your body gets it, and it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm gonna try and take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and whatever I can scrounge, you know, and get from this thing that you just put inside me. But like, I've been eating meat for literally for millions of years. It's how we got, like, that's the thing. That's the way that I think that our brains fully developed was
From the meat.
we left the trees, we stopped eating bananas and whatever else were up there and started foraging. We found cows, which shit and made mushrooms. And we would eat the cows and all of their organ meats, which they're super easy to fall around because they're super slow and they just graze.
Yeah.
And you can domesticate them. And then you're eating all of their organ meats to supply you with all of the nutrients that you could possibly ever need. And your brain is growing along with the neurogenesis from all of the psilocybin and the
from all stuff.
mushrooms, and together over 1,000,000 years of repeated process of using these things, yeah, we have a brain that's like 2.5 times the size of what it was,
What it used to be.
back
And our
2 million.
brains have gotten smaller actually since the agricultural revolution. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, our
it's
brain, our facial structure, our bodies are deteriorating, and like
yeah,
I was listening to something. It was Joe Rogan. He had this these two. I need to listen to the whole podcast. I was listening while my wife was watching. But it's talking about like our facial structures and how like kids, we're giving them all these these soft foods when they're babies, and not letting them chew on things and develop muscular
mm,
fascial like creation in their jaws. And so that's why we're getting these really like we don't have like these big pronounced jaws anymore. We don't, our teeth are all fucked up.
yeah.
Like everything about
Our wisdom teeth don't fit in there.
all it takes is being able to chew on things when you're developing as a kid, as a baby.
Yeah.
And we don't understand that. And so he's like, you can literally fix any of these dental problems by starting them out with like chewing on things and getting them to develop
What's interesting, I mean, Dr. Weston A. Price, I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but like, he, his whole thesis was that, the reason for dental decay and all these, bone loss in the bones, in the teeth, in the jaws, basically lack of a deficiency of fat soluble vitamins, of A, D, and K2, which you're not going to get from plant foods, But dude, this has been awesome. I'm pretty glad that we're even though you guys are selling CBD on a health perspective, where it seems like we're pretty aligned and pretty in thought with all this stuff. So someone listening and they want to try the Alchempist products, I don't know if you want to maybe showcase some of the stuff that you guys got.
Yeah. So these are.
I'm gonna change the screen just so it shows you.
So
hold on.
There you go.
Try talking.
Hello.
No, I don't know why it shows me only. All right. Well,
it's all good. So these are gummies. This is an easy way to, if you can throw it in your purse, you can take them. You can take them for sleep at night. You can take them if you're having a stressful day. You can pop one. They're delicious. We only use organic ingredients, and our extraction process of like the CBD and the other cannabinoids from the actual hemp plants themselves are completely chemical free. We use like what's it called? It's like a ethanol extraction, like a super cooled ethanol extraction.
okay.
It's the best. It's the cleanest way you can possibly get the the stuff out. So the gummies are a great way if you just want to try CBD out and just have a good product that's on hand that you can use whenever you want. That's perfect. The tincture is more. You can use it as a supplement, as something that's just like I take it. I would say that anyone over 30, 35 years old, who's been exposed to chronic stress for a lot longer periods of time, and maybe chronic stress through their diet and lack of exercise, and then their job and all these things like that, they're going to be more depleted. So I would say that the full spectrum tincture, which is this daily dose that we have here,
that's the one that I buy. That's the one I take.
Yeah, it's a sublingual tincture. You just put it under your tongue for let it sit for 30 seconds and to a minute, and essentially when it's under your tongue, it's going through your blood vessels and getting into your bloodstream. It's bypassing all of the other barriers. So when you take the supplement as a edible, you actually lose efficacy as it's going through your digestive tract and your stomach acid and things like that. So when you take the tincture under the tongue, it's just direct straight into your bloodstream, and you're getting I forget the percentages, but it's like 30 or 40% more, bioavailability in the body.
So you want to take it, you want to, the longer you hold it down there, basically the more bioavailability you're probably going to get from it.
I would say so. Sometimes I'll put it in before I get in the shower, and then I'll take a full shower and just leave it in the whole time.
Nice.
I don't know if that changes anything, but I definitely, at least 30 seconds to a minute is enough to get what you need. And you can take it, I'll take it with coffee because it takes away like the anxiety and the jitters from the coffee, but it lets me have the energy and stay focused.
Are you a bulletproof coffee type drinker, or are you just like a black or?
We have a buddy who's got his own like Whole Foods protein powder that he created.
Okay.
Um, and it's called, you can look it up if you want. It's called Clovis Superfood
Okay.
powder. And it's delicious. It's got a lot of monk fruit, but so it's a little sweeter. But we'll mix that with our coffee and then I'll throw in, like, uh, different adaptogens and like maca and
Got
ashwagandha,
it.
whatever
And
it
so
is.
you'll just squeeze the CBD in there as well.
No, because the bioavailability goes down. So like
You
I think
still want
there's
it. You still want it under the tongue regardless.
yeah. So I'll take them separately. I've
Interesting.
seen people they put it in their coffee. Like I think that's okay. I don't think it's that big of a
Yeah,
deal.
it's not bad. You're just not
But
going to
now you're
maximize the
ingesting it
effects
like an
of it.
edible, and you're
Yeah.
gonna have less bioavailability. So for me,
Interesting.
it's like if I'm gonna take it, I want full bioavailability. If I'm gonna have it,
I'm gonna try that next time because like I typically make like these calming teas and I put the CBD in the tea and I'm thinking that because I'm blending it with so many fats, I'm gonna absorb it better because it's like it's blending with all these fats and that are gonna help me absorb it better. But I think I'm gonna try that next time. I'm just gonna do it under the tongue when I
yeah,
take the tea and let it sit there for a while.
yeah. So back to what I was saying with the tincture, it's more of like therapeutic. So like if you have some specific symptoms that you're dealing with on a daily basis, whether that's anxiety, depression. Like my mom was, I'm supposed to share this. She was she got prescribed Lexapro, and ended up like a week later, I was like, "Hey, I have this thing," and she started taking it, and it's been like 4 months, and she has only used this product, and that's it. And
Nice.
it's done all the things that she needed to do for her. I had a guy who struggled with, I don't know, is this going public or is it just on your Facebook?
It's on my Facebook.
Okay.
It's on Facebook, YouTube.
Okay. I'll leave it out. But there are specific things that this thing can work for,
Okay.
and if you are struggling with symptoms in these categories, which would be an imbalanced endocannabinoid system, the tincture can be a great tool to use. I'm not taking every day, a full tincture. Like I'll take a quarter or a half of a milliliter, which is like one dropper full.
Yeah.
And that's just more of supplementary. But if you're
Yeah.
35 and
I
over, you're
I take
stressed.
the whole dropper, man, every day.
Yeah, well, exactly. But you've got a lot to deal with, right? You got your job, you got your kids,
Yeah.
you got a lot of outside stressors that I don't particularly deal with.
And there's things that like from what I've read on the studies on CBD, I mean, it's beneficial for so many things. Like it's supporting mitochondrial function. It can be anti-cancer. I mean, and there's a lot of really cool studies. And again, a lot of these are in animal studies, but still, like
No, dude, we have all of these receptors, like I said, where they were located, but they're like literally everywhere inside the
they're
body.
everywhere.
And from what I understand is that each person is unique in that it's like a thumbprint, like
Yeah.
your receptors, the ones that you have in your body and like where they're located is a little different than mine, and everyone's different. But we all need the support, and they your CB2 receptors are located. You have them located on every single immune cell inside your body.
Right.
You've got them all over your organs. You've got them all over it. They have to be there in order to receive the messages back and forth. It's what keeps your body on the same page. It's like a switchboard or a group chat that like keeps everyone sending messages like I have this stimulus, and the endocannabinoid system is that mycorrhizal network beneath the soil that's keeping everything in balance.
All right. It's like I got the message. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, everyone's different. Everyone's on that endocannabinoid tank is going to be more depleted, less depleted, but ultimately this is a supplement that we shouldn't be living without. Like this is a huge thing that we should all be taking on a daily basis, regardless of whether we need it for specific symptoms that we're dealing with or we just want to optimize.
Yeah.
Either way.
I agree. I mean, I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of very many seed oils. I don't really see the upside for them. The only one that I personally take is the hemp, just because of all the upside for it. I'm just like, all right, well, I don't really see too much downside in it for the most part, and it's just so much upside, so it just doesn't make sense not to take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Ben Greenfield, for instance, like the one supplement that like he recommends and that he'll always take is CBD, like every
The
single
CBD.
day. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that we're getting over the stigma in society so that we can start using these things to help heal chronic illness.
Right.
It's not a magic pill, but it's a great on ramp to all of the other things. Like the idea of adopting uh, new habits and lifestyle changes is a threat to your survival when you're constantly in survival mode. So when you're
Right.
in a sympathetic state, you don't want to learn to meditate because you're like, I need to survive. Like, what am I, why would I do that? But when you're able to shift your body back into a parasympathetic state and be more receptive, this could be really helpful for coaches or for people who need their patients or their clients to adopt new practices. This is a great way to get their body in that receptive state so that they're willing to make changes. So
They're
like,
willing to open. That's interesting. That's a
yeah, so
really
like
cool way.
an example of this, my mom, she went to the store and she's got, a 2-year old and like she's got a 10-year-old and she's got a full-time job and my grandparents and all these different things going on. She's very, very stressed. She, started taking tincture, it's been working. She went to the store and she was like about to grab a soda because she's like, I just need a soda. Like, it's like the body, like it's fight or flight. Like I just need
Yeah.
soda. And so she goes to reach to grab the soda. And then in that moment, she had like a micro adjustment where she was just like, okay, I don't really need the soda, but I do want something fizzy, something carbonated. So she grabbed soda water instead, with
Hmm.
sugar and whatever else. But she made this quality
Conscious choice.
decision,
Yeah.
conscious choice, because she was in a parasympathetic state from using the tincture.
That's
It's
so
like,
cool.
and it
And I
has
guess
such a
that's like what
small,
psychedelics are kind of being used for too, right? It's kind of to like kind of like get you out of that normal day-to-day stress response so you can be like, oh, I didn't know I had all these things I had to deal with, and I didn't realize that I'm making these stupid decisions and poor decisions, you know?
psychedelics are very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And cannabis is a psychedelic plant. Like
Right.
it does, that's why THC, if you have it in higher doses, you can have, journeys and
Pretty
stories.
radical experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But you can also use it, to confront trauma and to, um, like I'll use it and I'll meditate with it. And the thoughts that I'm able to have and
Very
the
interesting.
things
Yeah.
I'm able to touch on are
It was
beyond.
interesting. I had a birthday party the other day, a good friend of mine, and it's really personal. But anyways, I was on the way to the birthday party and I had took just my basic micro dose. It was kind of late in the evening already, and so I took my little micro dose. And while I was driving in the car, I had this like experience of a trauma that I had experienced when I was younger,
Mm.
and like it played back in my mind as I was driving, and I'm like, man, like there's something here. Like I didn't realize that this thing was still there, like lingering, you know. And it was like something. I'm like, okay, like now tomorrow when I meditate or later, like I'm gonna, you know, be a little bit more conscious and go within and kind of like just see what's here and let it go. So it's because you just, these traumas drive decisions, and like, and you're a business owner, right? Like a lot of business owners are being driven by their traumas and they just don't realize it. They're out there like trying to kill and just hunt, and like there's so much trauma buried underneath and they just don't deal with it. And so like, it helps them become very successful to a certain degree, but then they'll never get past that unless
No,
they learn
there's
to like,
always a ceiling.
there's a ceiling unless you learn to deal with those things, you know?
Well, they're
And
part
there's
of
also consequences. Like you don't see the full picture. Like you might see that they're having extreme amount of success in this one avenue of
but like
life,
they're
but
lacking success in all the other important areas.
you're not seeing everything else that's going on, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. Society these days equates success to, money and a car and, picket fence and whatever. And all
Yeah.
those people are super empty and unhappy and unfulfilled because the jobs that they're doing are not, providing them with their purpose and their happiness and their
Right.
the love that they need. And, there's so many aspects. So like for me, like I have success since 2 years ago when I found psychedelic mushrooms. I have radically transformed and changed my life to now manifesting a position at a job at a company like this that, really like is completely heart centered and just wants to help people and
Right.
gives me purpose and value and lets me help, I can change the world with this company.
Right.
And people don't have that in their lives. And like we were talking about the traumas, like 95% of our conscious reality is created by by our belief systems that are in our subconscious mind, which is
Right.
our body. And so you have a trauma and when you're 5, you know, and your dad hits you, and you think that you don't deserve love because your dad hit you. And then all of a sudden you go through the rest of your life continuing with that same belief system around I don't deserve love. And then you get people who consistently cheat on you or abuse you or do the same things that basically resulted from that first original trauma. So
Right.
then you use psychedelic medicines or cannabis or, you know, whatever else you want to use, but intentionally. And you can go back, revisit that trauma in a meditation or whatever it is. So with a therapist is even better. You're like
Right.
combining all the things together.
I've
And then
never
you,
done that. I have a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, that I've seen transformational growth within him, and he's doing that. He's using the psychedelic approach. He's now using meditation and breathing and stuff like that as well. But the psychedelics was the gateway for him to open up to this new world, you know, and
yes,
he's been using it with therapy and
same
stuff.
with
And it's,
same with CBD and cannabis. It's a
yeah,
gateway to the like it's a gateway drug, right? But
to
like
do the real work. Like you still got to do the real work,
yeah,
but now this is helping you now open your eyes to be like, oh, wow, like I wasn't stepping in here before,
mm-hmm.
you know?
Completely revolutionize how you see and feel and think about the world. The information, like a psychedelic, your current conscious experience is what Aldous Huxley referred to as like a trickle. It's a, you know, you're receiving like this very small, minute amount of information, and it's, you know, it's visual and it's auditory and it's whatever. It's all the information that's out there. But when you look at the spectrum of sound, the spectrum of light, the spectrum of what we actually experience, it's this much,
It's
as
so
opposed
small.
to, you know, this huge, huge, vast world that we don't see or hear or feel.
Yeah.
And so when you take a psychedelic, you basically open up that trickle in the funnel to this
To see a
big,
little bit more.
wide, and all of the information pours in, and
Can
that
flow in. Yeah.
opens you to everything else that's going on,
Right.
allows you to see and feel and experience things that wouldn't be there to the
Wouldn't be
normal,
there.
conscious, everyday, you know, person.
And that's what meditation has been for me. I think for me, meditation has been like the biggest life hack. You know, I've been meditating every day
Huge.
since 2008, and it's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for me, it's hard to explain it to people. Like unless you experience it yourself and have actually done it for like made it a habit. Like it's just, it's the transformation is very, very gradual and small, but it literally affects everything. It was interesting. Like I was with my girlfriend last night, and we were holding the cat, and like we're leaving to a biohacking conference, and we hadn't even asked to see if someone can watch the cat. And the neighbor just happens to walk by, and she's like, "Oh, what's up, you guys?" She's like, "What are you guys doing?" I'm like, "Oh, we're getting ready for a trip." And she's like, "Oh, you're leaving?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Would you like me to watch your cat and feed him while you're gone?" I'm like, "That'd be amazing." And she's like, "All right, don't worry, I'll take care of it." And we tell the cat, you know, and our cat's on a raw food carnivore diet, right? Like he's eating just, you know, grass-fed beef. We feed him what do you call these things? These little mice, not oh gosh, I
Pinkies,
lost it. Huh?
pinkies,
Not
the
pinkies.
little baby. No,
Um, oh gosh, I can't think of the freaking name. It's like it'll come to me. But we're feeding him that and just like organs and stuff like that. And you know, we go to the cat and we're like, man, like you're so blessed and you have no idea, you know? Like and the cat just can't comprehend everything, right? Like you're looking at it, and then I had the realization, I'm like, man, like we're just like the cat. Like, you know, like if we pull out, like we can't see all the good things that are happening in our life. We just can't even comprehend it. Like it's just bigger than us for us to
Mhm.
realize it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually take care of our dogs the same way that you do with your cat.
Yeah.
And we neglect our cat in those ways because we're so focused on getting his coat is perfect, his teeth are perfect, his we have a little. I'll grab him. Come here, buddy. Like, look at this wiener dog, dude. It's the
Nice.
best looking wiener dog I've ever seen. A dog in general, like it's you know, ground beef and coconut oil and egg yolks here and there and freaking, you know, organ meats when we can, and like, but
Morgans, yeah.
that's the way that all of these animals should be eating, you know.
Yeah.
And like we're
That's what they were designed to eat.
feeding them processed foods, and then you look at their skin and their coat and their you know, their energy levels, and they're getting all these diseases just like we are because we're doing the same thing. We're eating all
We're doing
this
the same thing, yeah.
processed shit.
It's guinea pig. That's what I'm giving the cat. Guinea pig.
Okay, guinea pig,
And
really?
yeah, and it's like, yeah, if you look at like if you look at all the cat foods and the dog foods, they're filled with corn and soy and like all these plant foods, and I'm like, dog wouldn't eat that in nature. Why are we giving him that? Like it doesn't make any sense, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, dude, this has been awesome. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
dude, I could talk to you for like another 6 hours because
Yeah,
the conversation never ends when you got two people on the same mental level of like an understanding of the way the universe works and the world and our bodies, and we're so interested in all of these incredible things that yeah, I mean, I would be down to do another one just later. It doesn't even have to be about CBD, but just about life in general. And I think that people would benefit from a
Absolutely. I'd definitely be down for that. Maybe we can brainstorm on a topic to touch on. But yeah, man, it's been awesome having you. For those of you guys who are watching, I did put on the comment section, I put the Alchempist's website. So if you guys want to look at their product lines, it's on it. And there is also a code that you can use, Gabe20, where you guys will save 20% off from ordering anything from them. Like I mentioned earlier, I personally love the tincture. It's my favorite tincture out there in the market that I found. I take it every day. And yeah, man, it's been awesome having you, man. I really appreciate you spending the time to do this.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me. This is like maybe the second time I've been like gone live, like on a thing, a live podcast of sorts. And I really like. I honestly think I'm going to be really good at it once I can like get some practice and feel a little less nervous. But the tincture definitely helped me today when I took it like 20 minutes before the podcast.
There you go.
I was very relaxed, and yeah, no, I really appreciate you for having me. And yeah, please, your listeners, if you guys want to try this stuff, use his code and check it out. And if you have any questions, direct questions for me, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. You can find us at the Alchempist. So like on Instagram. So at the Alchempist, which is spelled the way that it's spelled on my screen here. And yeah, we're more than willing. It's all about helping you guys and helping the world. Like my mission here is to truly deliver value and love and support to people who are trying to figure out a better life for themselves. And it starts, with these products, but it's a holistic approach. And if I can give you information that will help you on your journey to discovering your purpose and your happiness and fulfillment, then that does everything for my heart that I could ever ask for.
That's awesome, man. And the energy comes out and it flows, and I'm getting it on my end.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's all love here, man. This is from the heart, and I'm not. Yes, I have a product to sell, but like at the end of the day, like I just want to help people improve their lives, and if this can help them, that's great. If they don't, want to try this product, but they want to listen to any of the other 50 things that I said about how you can support your health, then that makes me happy too. So
right.
It's all love, and we're all here to support each other. And yeah, I just really appreciate you for having me, man. A lot of gratitude. Thank you so much.
For sure, man. Likewise, man. And I put the website on the comment section again. Use the code Gabe20 if you guys want to use it. And if you want, Austin, you can come back in the comment section if you want to share your IG or whatever. But if you guys have questions about it, reach out to Austin. He's here on Facebook. He's on IG as well. Pretty cool, where you can talk directly to the vendor of these products, because most of these guys aren't really accessible. So take advantage, and hope you guys enjoy the product, enjoyed the show. And if you guys are using the product, let me know. Let me know how you're liking it. Let Austin know how you're liking it. Be sure to tell your friends, family members, and all that. And yeah, man, thanks again, bro.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hope to have another conversation with you in the future. I think it'll be fun.
We will.
All right, have a good day, brother.
All right, brother. Take care, man. You too.